Hello people, how is everybody's days today? Before I start, I'd like to make sure as usual that my microphone has got the right volume. Just like the stream last night, we may have at least one guest commentating as well with me, but for now it's just going to be myself. This is going to be a relatively long one again, and I'm going to be, as the title says, I'm going to be going through watching all of the current TAS BKTs, doing a little analysis on them, adding a bit of background insight, because hey, I helped in a lot. Hello, hi, bye, hello. Hello, Tankal Conan. Hello, Bob Rose. Nice, notifications are working, that's good. Right, so I'm gonna try and get yeah, no, what's the time for you right now? I'm actually interested in knowing. I've got no clue. Oh, right. That's still pretty late. So yeah. Ooh, I've got a notification. Should probably check it. Okay, I checked the notification. I think it's time to get oh, the audio stream's current bit rate is lower than recommended. We recommend. Sure. Use audio stream bit rate 128. Oh, how do I change that? Can't change that. 9:50. Wow, it's pretty late there. Hello, Gold Gamer 86. So I'm gonna have to just take a look at what's the first one we're gonna look at. We're gonna go in chronological order, or are we gonna go in track order? We're gonna start like this, or are we gonna go from oldest to newest? Oh, that wouldn't even work because of the fact that some aren't even current, and there's multiple categories as well. Oh, I can go with that. Right, okay, so we can start with track order. That seems good. All right. So, like I just said, here's Luigi Circuit. I'm going to watch it all the way through. That won't be as difficult as the TAS competition videos because these ones are only like a minute long. And I'll be able to spend much more time on the actual runs themselves instead of just looking at them at full speed. So yeah, this one was made by Jellopuff, EJ, myself, Melio, and Thomas all the way back 13 months ago. I believe the project started 7 months before that, but for the majority of that time, the run wasn't being worked on. And then it got revived in like the last month, and then we worked on the lap 1 for a few weeks. Then in a span of about 2 days, Jellopuff managed to grind out 2 entire laps, and we finished it a few days later. Hello, Wade. How are you? So when we saw Jellopuff make the run that quickly, we were all quite skeptical about if it was optimal or not, and for a while we just assumed that it wasn't, but no one actually wanted to improve on it. That is until a few weeks ago, Monster uploaded to Twitter a screenshot of a faster lap 1, which is slightly relieving for all of us since we kind of knew that was going to happen. But I will first point out the fact that the Ghost they're racing is actually the previous BKT. The time went down from a 106 all the way down to a 102. That's pretty significant, and why did that happen? Well, that's because of the new super grind that Jellopuff discovered right here. So what happens is we use a mushroom in order to land on the off-road and not lose speed, obviously. Then we land on the crease between the off-road hill and the curb here. That gives just the right angle to stay stuck to the ground and allow us to build sideways speed. Now, it may look like, if I go back, I'm going to have to play this slower, because that's not going to work at full speed. It may look like right here we pass through the grass, but that doesn't actually make a difference, because since we're moving at such high speed and only the front wheel is on the main track, that doesn't slow us down. How much faster was Monster's lap 1? That would have to be, I think it was about 2 or 3 frames, which is maybe 0.03, 0.04. I don't remember exactly how much it was. I'd have to check the Twitter post. And right here you can see that we don't hold any inputs, and that's something that, for whatever reason, if you're going downhill in a super grind, the more slanted the hill is, the more likely you'll just maintain your speed, and this hill is steep enough that we can do that. So then right here, we get a drift, and we get a bounce off of the curb, which gives us a lot of speed. So like this speedometer is not completely accurate. It says 123, 122. What's actually happening is it's only about 118, 119. But using that extra speed, we maintain 120 during the air, then do a sort of neutral hop here, and then do a side trick, which allows us to keep that speed in the trick, which is not normally possible if you were even in a mushroom boost. And then normally if you're ejecting out of a super grind and you're trying to turn really far to the direction that you were moving, you often slow down quite quickly. But since we're in a mushroom boost, as Jellopuff explained in the stream yesterday, this helps us accelerate faster and not lose heaps of speed. So right here, similar to the last one, there's another crease in the road. So this boost panel, and then the rest of the road there, that has a slope large enough for us to stick to the ground and build up more speed. The reason we drop here is because we want to have a more parallel line in terms of like the bike's angle being more parallel with the ground, and that's only that's pretty unique to. Yeah, no, the video isn't a problem. That's just me pausing it. We want to be parallel with the ground. That's only unique to Luigi Circuit. It's not always optimal everywhere else. That's something that a lot of people didn't understand until after Melia made his video on super grinding. And then this is an extremely complicated set of movements in the ejection. And most of this was just trial and error. So there's no exact reason why that's fastest. And then most of the rest is the same, so I'll just skip to the end since that's where things get interesting. So right here, instead of doing a similar super grind setup as the previous 2 laps, it goes much tighter than before. And as you can see, we're actually on this side of the road as opposed to the other, which is just a setup for going as parallel to the finish line as possible. And there's 2 ways you could do that. You could go a little wide and then go tight at the end, or you can go a little tight and then wide at the end. And so the option was to do a little tight and then wide at the end. However, EJ found that if you do repeated spin drifts at the end, then you can go tight at the start and then not any wider at the end, which means a perfect finish. And that's what happens. So this is probably improvable to maybe 102.3, maybe if we're lucky 102.2, but that's cutting it a bit close in terms of improvements. So low 102.3 is something that you probably expect to see in the future. So that's Luigi Circuit super grinding. And yeah, 13th of April 2020. Cut of 3.5 seconds. Now next up, I'm gonna stay in track order and just go down to no glitch. Just replying to a message. Hello Exploiter, how are you going? So actually this is something I didn't mention before that I probably should. That's actually extremely important to other TASs that use start slides, is right at the beginning, it's not always optimal to just wheelie straight away. And that's due to the fact that your bike is still trying to turn towards the direction you're going. So it actually takes time to turn, meaning if you wheelie straight away, you're going to turn slower and you're going to be not moving the direction you want to go as long. And that means, please invest in AdBlock. I will eventually. Should probably turn this on high quality because that's really, this doesn't have good quality anyway. So what you see here is instead of wheeling straight away, you hold right for slightly longer in order to face towards the direction you want to go. However, if you were just to wheelie right here, you would turn way to the right and you wouldn't be aiming the direction you want to go. So to counter that, we hold left a little longer and then wheelie. And that saves a small bit of time, as you can see from this ghost comparison. That kind of strat was discovered by, well, not discovered, but popularized by Marth in 2019 when he was doing a lot of work on custom track TASs and found that was faster. So yeah, that is something that could be improved and applied to this run here. So as you can see, right at the beginning, wants to just wheelie straight away, which loses a slight bit of time. But I'm not going to go over that just yet, since I'm going to watch the whole run in full. Okay, so that's the no super grind test. And yeah, so one frame is 1/60th of a second, because there's 60 frames in 1 second. So if you just divide 1000 by 60, then you get 16.66666 repeating milliseconds, which rounds up to about 17. So at the start, like I already said before, Monster doesn't do the faster starting strategy. I'm going to turn the TAS down to 50% speed again. So instead of aiming to go to the left, since we're not doing super grinding, oh my god, just turning to the right to take these turns really tightly. And this is where things differ from RTA as well, because instead of going to the right and taking the turn normally, which is done by just hopping and rewheeling, they aim at the curb here, and if you're on the curb, you see the bike starts turning, and by hopping when the bike turns, your hop gets redirected with momentum all the way out to the left, and you can hop directly to the ramp, and then land directly on the ramp, losing essentially no speed to off-road, and then get an extremely low trick here, saving only a few frames over no ramp, which is why it's probably not going to be implemented in RTA, since it's so precise and you have to do it almost perfectly to save time. Now, again, this is another strat that differs from RTA. If you spin drift here, then you can get an angle on this curb that allows you to perform a realign clip off of this fence. Now, what a realign clip is it preserves your height instead of giving you more, and that allows you to sometimes take turns around walls a little tighter. Now, that's done here in order to take this turn a little further and take the pipe cut a little tighter. So just a spin drift with a slight stick to do that, and then going all the way through. And that's just repeated on all 3 laps, so I don't really need to go into much detail. Although I do want to mention one thing right at the end. Yeah, the last turn is done slightly differently, since you're trying to aim for a fast ending instead of a fast alignment into the next lap. Now, if you look at the lap times, you'll notice that lap 1 is quite a bit slower than laps 2 and 3, and then lap 3 is slightly slower than lap 2. In general, you want lap 1 to be about 0.15 to 0.2 slower than the other laps, and that's because you start the lap behind the finish line and at 0 speed, so you have to accelerate from a complete stop. And lap 3 generally should be slightly faster than lap 2, since you're aiming for an optimal line into the finish line rather than an optimal line into the first turn of the next lap. So that applies to a lot of tracks, or essentially every track. And you'll be able to see from what the times are that some runs are quite clearly not optimal. So I'll move on to Moo Moo Meadows next. And this is a relatively new one, which is pretty cool. I'll actually play it with audio because I feel like having no audio is kind of dull. So I'll play the full run through with audio and then the analysis without, because that's going to be annoying if I have slowed down audio. Speeds on normal, cool. Alright, so that is Moo Moo Meadows unrestricted run. And fun fact about the music in that TAS, I'm actually learning to play the piano part in that, which is really cool. Can I turn my microphone up? Yeah, sure. Okay, how's that? Is that better? Okay, so the thing with this top 10 is it's not actually a leaderboard showing the top 10 fastest TASs ever made, because that would essentially just be 112, 159, 112, 160, 112, 161, 112, 162, 112, 163, and so on. So this just shows the past 10 unrestricted TAS BKTs. So unrestricted meaning no restrictions, which also includes any no glitch times, as technically those at the time were the fastest unrestricted runs. So this was an idea that I had for a while, and I was going to use it on N64 Bass's Castle when that was finished, but that never got finished, and this did, so I used it. And huge thanks again to Wade for making this video itself. Wouldn't have been this good without him. So turning off music. So left start slide. All of the stuff at the start was actually done by the No Glitch TAS team, so I can't really put that much detail into how the lines work. But basically, Akari and Thomas made these parts in 2018 and 2019. Luke also helped out in late 2018. This soft drift is a huge time saver over the old Flame Runner TAS, as it had to go way out to the right. But then there's a small time loss there at the shortcut. And right here, this is where the time save itself starts. So you may notice that the TAS right here tricks right. I think that's a right trick. The old run used to do a left trick, and that was assumed to be the fastest since you could get a stick much easier with a left trick. However, if you look at the ghost comparison on the alternate encodes video, you'll notice that you get a slight extra push in the air, and that's because of something called side trick abuse. I'll go over that later. And you also get one extra frame of boost because you land a frame later. So that's really cool. So right here is just normal spin drift. And then I go into a lot of detail about how the run itself works in the document in the description right here. So I won't actually talk much about what goes on, since that would just do exactly what I would be saying here. So go check that out if you really want to know how all this stuff works. But basically, super grind happens here, and then it gets carried all the way here, and then you eject from the super grind. The wall actually gives you a boost, it doesn't slow you down, and you can carry momentum hops all the way there. And then continue all the way here, do it again on lap 2, then that carries all the way into lap 3, but on lap 3 the cows are in the way, so the ejection is slightly different because you need to align yourself to go in between them, which is an extremely cool strat that I found while just messing around, hoping that I could actually get through them, and I managed to do this. So yeah, that's the cow clip, as I've called it. Blaze helped improve the drift afterwards. So if you thought he actually discovered it, no, that's incorrect, and the description talks about that. Then the majority of the time it took to make the run was just this last section. So as you can see, a lot of people worked on it. So thanks to all of those people, it wouldn't have got this low without you. It would have been, I think, a 0.2 without the extra time saves at the end. So as you can see here, the lap 1's the slowest because there's no super grind going into the start of the lap, and there's a super grind setup at the end of the lap, which is actually slower, as you can see if you watch the ghost comparisons. Then this next lap has a super grind going into it and a super grind exiting it, so it's slightly faster because of the super grind going in. And then the final lap doesn't have a super grind setup at the end, so that's faster than what you do on laps 1 and 2. But it actually cut a lot more than 0.4 of a millisecond. It was more like 5 total, I think, throughout the whole project. But yeah, that's the movement of super grind TAS. Moving on to the next one. Hopefully this can get more interesting as the stream goes on. I'm hoping to get a few extra people to come in to a call with me, and we can talk about it better, because I'm kind of boring on my own. So this is not a very good quality recording, so I'll actually go to this video, which has better quality. this is 60 frames per second, the other one is 30 frames per second, so you can't actually watch it at better quality. Flaw in the run is this first turn.